Patriot Radio News Hour. The sun is almost out. It was a rainy weekend here in the Valley of the Sun. The cold weather is here. Of course, it's Arizona cold, so it's still not that bad. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. The car auctions are over. The holiday season almost done. We've got the golf tournament and, of course, the Super Bowl, which really is the end of the holiday season anymore. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. Wendy is in the shipping room as we speak. Got more product heading out to everybody. Got a great special coming for you. All you silver guys, I think as far, and of course, my memory is getting hazier, and the older I get, the worse my memory gets. But we got a great opportunity to buy some silver at one of the closest prices to spot that I can remember. So we got that coming up for you. The GOAT does it again, right? I'm not been paying attention to the NFL. I've kind of, got fed up with the kneeling and all that other jazz, but it was the championship weekend. And I will say this. So on yesterday, my older son, who, as you guys know, he's 18. You don't see that many more, right? They're hardly ever. I don't know what he does, right? You try to keep track. He usually goes through the wife, right? My wife is in charge. Everybody's got different responsibilities. My wife is the one that my kids will stay in contact with, usually via a text message. So I rarely know what he's doing or where he's at. And if he is at home, he's up in his room. He actually came downstairs and said to me, "Dad, the Patriots are coming back." And so I actually came out and we watched the last, it was maybe 8 minutes, 9 minutes, something like that. And Tom Brady, I've said it on the air a bunch of times, the guy's an alien. I'm pretty sure. Patriots made the comeback, win the game. I did not watch the other game, but I guess that was a blowout. So it's going to be the Eagles and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And Patriots are probably going to win. That'd be my guess. The Eagles have never won a Super Bowl. They did win a championship title game before there was a Super Bowl. I think it was like 1960 or something like that. But it's going to be the Eagles against the Patriots and their alien quarterback, Tom Brady. That is not why the government shut down. Different type of alien problem there. I don't know what to say. It baffles the mind of what these politicians are doing. They're tearing this country apart. How people that are in this country illegally are the reason behind them not paying government employees. If you're a non-essential government employee, you don't go to work today. And I thought it looked like it was going to be a short one. Now I'm not so sure. Now today they're like, maybe not. All over immigration and the, I guess what's the new one now? The immigrant children that their parents brought them across the border when they were young illegally, and what to do with them. We can decide that, right? Why do we got to shut down the government to get that done? But that is, this is just, I don't know, the divisiveness and again, I think the biggest thing for me is there's a group of people that don't want to fix it, and a group of people that do. Right, and the ones that want to fix it want to build the wall. And really, when you think about it, doesn't it become just a common sense thing? Right, it's dangerous. Let's make it a bigger deterrent because obviously we know about the people that die and all of this, and the violence and the drug, not to mention all the other things, the drugs and the ruining of property, and we've got a national park down here in Arizona that you don't go there because it's dangerous. But nonetheless, I guess that, common sense, who cares about that? That's just my spin, right? Everyone's got a different take on it. I'm all for people bettering themselves, but I'm more for let's better yourselves within the law. But nonetheless, the government shut down. They were supposed to vote in an hour, so I don't know. I haven't seen. The only thing, and I'm on the internet here now. All of a sudden, it looked like I thought they were going to, and they were going to do like a 3-week thing, which I don't know why that would be a big deal. Hey, let's keep it open for another 3 weeks and keep talking and working it out. But nonetheless, now they're thinking they may not have the vote. So this is one of those ones where they need 60 votes. So even if you got all 51 Republicans, still not enough. You need 60 votes, and there is a way, I believe, that the Republicans could make some form of a legal maneuver that would allow them to do it by the majority. But I don't know if do they have 50 or 51 of the Republicans on board? I don't know the answer to that either. But as of right now, the government is shut down. All non-essential government workers are sitting at home. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. I told you, have an opportunity in the silver market today. I've got 100 rolls of quarters. That's all I have, 100 rolls of quarters. There's 40 quarters in a roll. These are all pre-1965 quarters. They're $123.50 for these 100 rolls. That's like $16 off the regular price, which, I mean, on $123, that's a lot. It works out to $17.27. Right now, silver's at $17.03. So you're looking at least the second anyway, about 24 cents over spot. In other words, if you took the 40 quarters and you took a blowtorch to it, right? How many ounces of silver do you have? And every roll has 7.15 ounces in it. So at $123.50 a roll, works out to $17.27. And just, you think about most people, at least I'll say the analysts that do a lot of the silver tracking are expecting silver to hit somewhere around $20 to the ounce this year. 17.27 is a great opportunity. I've only got 100 rolls. 800-951-0592 is our toll-free number. If you want to use your credit card, add $5. So if you want to put it on a credit card, it'll be $128.50 on a credit card. 800-951-0592. Just keep in mind, I've only got 100 rolls. I'm not going to put a limit on it. If you want to buy them all, do it. 800-951-0592. That is the toll-free number. And outside of the shutdown, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I was thinking about, I saw an article, and it really got me thinking about the tax cuts, and General Motors has opened a new technical center in Ontario, Canada. Right, it's going to employ 1,000 people, including 700 engineers and blah, blah, blah. And I just got to thinking, I remember even the idiot box, they would say it, Wall Street doesn't represent Main Street. And now somehow, because they got this tax cut, they want us to believe that it does. all of a sudden. Now it does because we got a tax cut. It doesn't. Listen, these companies, they make plans. You know, they've got 5-year, 10-year plans. They knew the tax cuts were coming. It's not really changing anything any of these companies are doing. And just another example, this could have been 1,000 jobs here. Why not here? I mean, we bailed them out. Yes, I mean, is it wrong? But you know what? They wouldn't be here today. General Motors was out of business. I think a trade-off for that would be, hey, we're going to employ nothing but Americans for the next 20 years. I think that's fair. But, yeah, GM spokesman Brian Tozin said the official opening will be on Friday. The message was clear. General Motors wants to position itself as a world leader in technology. And apparently the best place for them to do that is north of the border in Canada. They had pictures of the plant and everything. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I'd like to check it out. But anyway, that came out today, and it just got me thinking about some of the ridiculous. How about this? Did you see on our website today, Jamie Dimon got a pay raise? See, this is how the tax cuts are really going to pay off. He got a 6% pay rate, well, 5.9%. J.P. Morgan has 250,000 employees. They're not ones that, they're not one of the 10 companies that gave any type of bonus or raise. The 250,000 employees got nothing. He now makes 240 times the average pay of the worker at J.P. Morgan. He's going to get a $29.5 million. And by the way, here's what's funny. Their stock is up, but not because they're actually making – I mean, they'll make more money with the tax cuts, but their profits were down. They're down 1% last year. Matter of fact, of the 12 major categories of the stock market, only one category out of the 12 actually had real earnings growth. And what I mean by real earnings growth last year was, hey, our sales went up, right, and our profits went up. We actually made more money this year than we did last year. We sold more stuff this year than we did last year. Only one out of the 12. And again, this next year, a bunch of them are going to have better profits just because they paid less in taxes, not because they sold more stuff or they did a better job of managing their business. But I was, $29.5 million, 6% raise for Jamie Dimon. The 250,000 employees that worked for him got, well, at least so far, got nothing. So again, I guess that's our tax. But don't worry, he'll probably buy stuff with that. So he'll buy, a few boats and a car and another. I don't know, maybe another McMansion somewhere, or hire another gardener, make some alimony payments. I don't know. But nonetheless, it just got me thinking, because we talk about, for what? Most of my time here, I was thinking of 14, 15 years now, and we've talked about how every year it seemed like Wall Street represented less and less of what the U.S. and talking about like General Motors. General Motors sells more cars in China than it does here. The difference is they make a lot more money here than they do there, right? Which kind of makes me mad at it. We can be paying a lot less for these cars, but nonetheless, I guess here's another example. Carrier, and here's a company that I guess growing up I knew a lot about. Carrier Air Conditioning. For those of you that know, I grew up in Syracuse. I am a die-hard Syracuse fan, right? I don't care, Syracuse football, Syracuse basketball, anything to do with Syracuse, I'm about it. Now, I also say, listen, somebody really important's got to die or get married for me to go back there. But I'm a huge sports fan of Syracuse University. And they play in the Carrier Dome. Okay, so when I was growing up, Syracuse used to play football outside, and I was probably 10 when the dome opened. That's kind of when I would say between the ages of like 8 and 12 is when you really define who's your favorite team type thing. And I remember when they built the Carrier Dome. And I remember the basketball coach, Jim Boeheim, famous basketball coach, would come on TV. We're never playing in there, and they played at the place called the Manley Field House, and I loved it because we had season tickets for football and basketball in the new Carrier Dome because it's so much bigger, and we didn't have to watch football in the freezing cold outside in Syracuse. And Carrier had a huge facility in Syracuse. I mean, it was massive. Multiple city blocks. Today, it's all gone. There's one, and I don't know if it's 2 stories. It may be a small 2 or 3 story building is the only thing left there. They used to employ thousands of people. Remember, this was the plant Carrier. Remember, and I don't know if it was a year or 2 ago, it was during the election, and they made the announcement to all of their employees that their jobs were going to move to Mexico from Indianapolis. And then Trump came and got on their case, and they said, oh, well, we're going to do something different. No. A new round of layoffs taking effect this week at Carrier's factory in Indianapolis. A little more than a year after President Trump touted a deal that staved off the plant's closure, another 215 people were let go last Thursday. The plant now is down to less than 1,100 workers. That's down from 1,600 workers in 2016. The plan to move production to Mexico. The layoffs followed by 340 job cuts at the plant in July. Local steelworker president Chuck Jones has been complaining that the president gave false hope to Carrier workers by inflating the numbers of jobs that was going to be saved. The tax cuts apparently having no effect on Carrier's decision. The latest Carrier cuts following the closing in November of a 350 Rexnord industrial bearings factory in Indianapolis. And all of these things, again, and I kind of laid it out before. Mexico pays somewhere between $2 to $2.50 an hour for a factory job. No amount of tax cut in the world is going to help. On a positive side, though, Carrier said in a statement, it has offered reimbursement programs for employees who seek college degrees or vocational training certificates. So that should make everybody feel better. It says, I don't know, something about United Technology planning to hire some people over the next 3 years. And just like the Ford plant, right? The Ford was going to move production to Mexico, then said it wasn't. And then this year we found out it did. But then they said it's okay because we're going to add some jobs, a different job at that plant. So therefore, it's all good and it's all fine. And it's just one of these things. It just gets frustrating. The lies, the half-truths, and nobody wants to just come out and say, hey, you know what? Hey, we appreciate the tax cut, and it's all well and good, but here's the realities. We live in a global world now, and we got to do what we got to do because my pay, look at Jamie there, my pay is based on the stock price. And based on the stock price, I got to do what's best for me and do best what's for the company, and that's to not employ Americans. I mean, it's just that simple. And then they talk about reimbursement programs for people to go back to school. And, of course, you know what? I think it's on our website today. The largest or the fastest growing segment in the student loan, and I think it's by percentage, happens to be older people. Of course, we also talked about how the amount of older people now hitting retirement age while still having student loan debt is spiking by triple digits, triple digit, 100+% in rising year after year after year. And you think about, how is all of this going to end? I don't know. I think about when I first met Eric, right? And he was talking about NAFTA and GATT to me. This is, before I ever worked here. This was in the late 90s. And the NASDAQ was doing its thing back then, and he was saying how, and he used the rising tide lifts all boats type scenario, and he said, really what that means is the guy that's on the top, right, his boat's got to go lower. And the guy that's on the bottom, his boat's got to come higher. And we were the top boat. And until it becomes economically feasible to employ American employees again, they won't do it. And I'm going to tell you right now, we got a long, long way to go before that happens. Patriot Radio News Hour, halftime on a Monday.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, the conservative pro-family broadcast of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, a leading voice for the sanctity of life, traditional education, the Constitution, and American sovereignty. Now, from the Phyllis Schlafly Center Studios, here's Ryan Haidt.
The essence of judicial supremacy is the idea that an individual or small group of unelected lawyers could unilaterally decide to change the law against all precedent and the will of the American people. That idea is not only dangerous to conservative policies, but to the very American system of government which has allowed our nation to be the best in the world. Phyllis Schlafly pointed to a botched attempt of judicial supremacy in the infamous case of Newdow versus United States. Outspoken atheist Michael Newdow was determined to have the words "under God" removed from the Pledge of Allegiance. Unfortunately for him, Newdow had no legal standing to present a case against the pledge. He couldn't argue that he was being compelled by the government to endorse religion because no American adult has ever been compelled by law to recite the pledge. So, in a sneaky attempt to impose his views, he sued on behalf of his young daughter, claiming that she was being indoctrinated by the pledge when she recited it at school. In the first appearance of the case before a U.S. District Court, the judge ruled that the pledge is constitutional. Newdow appealed. Then, in a move that shocked the American people, the Ninth Circuit ruled that the Pledge of Allegiance was an unconstitutional violation of church and state. Americans around the country were livid. In an unprecedented display of unity, Congress passed a resolution reaffirming the validity of the phrase "one nation under God" by a margin of 401 to 5 in the House and unanimously in the Senate. Like their elected officials, citizens around the nation declared that they would not be silenced by an imperial judiciary. When the case went to the Supreme Court in 2004, it was effectively struck down by unanimous consensus of the justices. Don't be fooled into thinking that the unelected judiciary can pass down the law of the land to us helpless citizens. As long as the American people are willing to fight against the shackles of tyranny, we can overcome activist judges in their quest to eradicate God and family from the American way of life.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. When America turns our back on our Christian heritage, we shouldn't be surprised when biblical precepts like honesty, kindness, respect, justice, and freedom are abandoned. At phyllisschlafly.com, we still believe in rights endowed by our Creator. If you agree, find out more at phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening to the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. Rolls of silver quarters, 24 cents, 25 cents over spot. If you took a blowtorch to a roll, you get 7.15 ounces of silver. So if you a roll of silver, there'd be 40 pre-1965 silver quarters in a roll. They're $123.50. Down to 72 rolls left. So I got 72 rolls left. It's actually $16.50 a roll less than regular price today. Within a quarter or so of the spot price. So you're buying physical silver delivered to your door for about 25 cents over spot. And you think, I think who was I forget who it was. Was it MF Global? One of the companies just on Friday upped its gold forecast to 1440 for the year. Upped its silver forecast. It was $20.10 or $20.20 before the end of the year, and got an opportunity to buy silver today at $17.27. Man, it's just put some away, even if it's a roll or two. It is worth it, especially buying it that close to the spot price. 800-951-0592. That is the toll-free number, and it also it keeps us here. It keeps us delivering the news. And boy, what an interesting thing that happened or I found today. I'm kind of putting together, and we've been on this big kick of do what central banks do, right? Be your own central bank. We've talked a lot about China and how much gold they've been buying. Russia just set a new record for them. The Russian central bank added another over 9 tons of gold in December. But for 2017, the Russian central bank bought a record 223 metric tons of gold. They added 0 holdings to U.S. Treasuries, and I think they hold they're not a huge. I think they hold like $100 billion of Treasuries. Didn't make a single dollar more in reserves in U.S. Treasuries, added 223 metric tons. But here's what makes it really interesting is since 2015, Russia has added over 558 metric tons, bringing its official holdings. Okay, and official holdings are what they're willing to tell us. Right? We officially say we have 8,000 metric tons. They don't really audit it, so none of us really know. And we also don't know, is it leased out? Is it, who really owns it? We don't know any of that. What we do know, at least in the, I'll call it the modern era of central bank buying, we know these numbers are true because the gold's been physically delivered to that country. They now claim to hold 1,838 metric tons of gold, bringing it to number 6 in the world, right behind what China's official gold holdings are worth. And so now China is, 5, Russia is 6 in official holdings. And here's the funny thing. To be second and third, if they add what they added, if the Russians added, again this year, what they've added over the last, what they've been averaging over the last 3 years. So they'll add another almost 200 metric tons to their holdings. They'll be right there at number 2, right next to Germany, as the second largest holder of gold. Nobody actually believes the Chinese number, right? Everybody thinks the Chinese have a lot more gold than what they're saying. But even then, they're right there as well. So they're within a couple hundred metric tons of being the second and third largest holders of gold, and the IMF's in there as well. They're technically not a country. And then I saw this article out of Reuters, and this was at the end of last year. And I wasn't dismissive. Maybe I should have given it a little more credence, but I'm going to share it with you today. The BRIC countries, okay, so the Brazil, Russia, India, China, right? That's your BRIC countries. Those are what we'll call the emerging market countries that are ready to become, quote unquote, industrialized, if you will, are considering starting an international gold trading platform, according to Russian officials. And you start thinking about what they've been doing with their gold holdings, and now it's starting to give this a little more weight, right? Hey, wait a minute. Right? We just set a record for gold purchases, and they're talking about this gold trading platform. When this happens, the global economy will be significantly reshaped. The West will lose its dominance, and people are kind of thinking that, right, and logically, right, it's going to shift to the East. In 2016, 23,338 tons of physical gold was traded, which was 43% more than 2050. We don't have the 2017 numbers yet. It says that Beijing and Moscow, and this was Reuters reporting, understand that America used the dollar to control the world. By implementing a new kind of gold standard, they want to distance themselves from this control. Furthermore, the vast majority of people in Asia see gold as superior or see gold as real money, something the West has forgotten because all the paper wealth, and then they have in quotations credit, right, with debt, that they have accumulated. We're going to finish about what they speculate is coming, and and these purchases kind of lead to it. Patriot Radio News Hour rolls the silver quarters at 123.50. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 800-951-0592. So the big news today, Russia releases its official gold holdings, continuing to move up the charts now. Them and China are 5th and 6th. And if you take out the IMF, they're 4th and 5th in official gold holdings. Again, no one actually believes the Chinese number, and everyone kind of already thinks China's second already. But both of them are within earshot of being second and third largest holders of gold. And again, we're making the assumption, and I want to believe it, so I'm going to believe it, that we've got 8,000 tons. But then we go back to an article that Reuters had, that Beijing and Moscow are making a move together in combination with the announcement of the pricing of oil in yuan. Right? Remember, that was the big thing. Using a gold-backed futures contract in Shanghai, the establishment of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the New Development Bank, China is setting up an alternative to the post-Bretton Woods establishment. Right? And those are true. So we do know. Here's things we know. We know Russia and China are adding gold to their reserve. They're not adding more treasuries, neither one. Russia now is adding record amounts. In other words, the pace of their gold purchasing is picked up immensely. Then we know that through the Shanghai Exchange, China is now offering contracts starting with crude oil that can be cleared in their currency. And people are now saying that they have a bigger plan in mind. And talking about presenting a viable challenger that could, over time, lead to the breakup of the current system, and saying that they want to establish an intra-group gold trading platform, which would be 100% physically backed. To put it in perspective, 180,000 metric tons is the amount of gold that's ever been mined since they started mining gold. Right, 180,000 metric tons. In London, they trade 1.5 million tons of gold every year in paper contracts. Right, same thing in the COMEX. In 2016, they traded 57.5 million 100-ounce gold contracts. So, all of this paper gold, right? All of this stuff that they use to drive the price up or drive the price down, not anywhere close to any perceivable amount of metal that actually exists. But now we have to start thinking about what is coming next, right? I mean, because that's really what we got to do. Okay, so China's set the stage now. They're going to start having countries add the Chinese yuan to the reserves, right, at the expense of the U.S. dollar. Russia and China have been stockpiling gold, and it's now hit a level that we haven't seen before. And now there's talk that the final blow as they get ready is going to go back to like another gold standard. And you think about as these credit markets implode and all of the debt that's out there, it kind of makes sense. I mean, it really does. You're like, well, let's see. Fiat money is starting to really look like, well, yeah, nobody wants to hold it. Let's get ready. Let's start adding. Let's start dabbling our toe into the water. And of course, you think about all the announcements. So that was an article from December. Right? Then you think about the announcements that like last week. The German central bank, the English central bank, the Spanish central bank, all these central banks that came out and said, yes, we're going to start adding the Chinese yuan to our reserves. And then you take the announcement from the Russian central bank about how much gold they bought. Factor that in with what most people believe that the Chinese are holding, and you got to ask the question of, do you think they did it for $100? What I mean by that, you think the Russians added 200 and whatever it was, 220 or 230 metric tons of gold for $100 rise, right? Obviously not, right? They're thinking something much, much bigger than that, and I just find it fascinating as we connect these dots and you start to go back, things that I saw, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, a year or 2 years ago that I thought, that's kind of far-fetched. Now you kind of look at it, now you're like, wait a minute. What are they doing? What's really going to happen? How is all of this going to work? Then you start thinking about the rising tides lifts all boats thing and all that stuff. And the boat that was way up at the top's got to come down, and these boats that were on the bottom got to come up. And you start thinking about how all of that's playing out, and you kind of see the shift of, at the end of the day, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. And that's why I kind of tell everybody, listen, man, take the time. And remember, gold and silver are brothers, right? One's not going to go without the other. Today, a great buying opportunity on the silver side. rolls of silver quarters. There's 40 quarters in a roll, $123.50. At about 25 cents over spot at 800-951-0592. Final segment coming up on a Monday. Final segment, Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. I'll just put it this way. Here's what over the weekend, Barrett Jackson was here, and I saw an El Camino go for over $100,000. I mean, it was a nice-looking El Camino, but $100,000, and I'm thinking to myself, really? That's the best thing you can think of? You got I got $100,000 laying around. I think I'm going to buy an El Camino, and it just amazes me. And then you start thinking about and that's all the sideshow stuff that's going on, and people don't understand why it is that it's all happening. And then you start thinking about things that we never used to have to think about. Who ever even thought about China? Right? Remember when Nixon went over there and it was like this really big deal, and then nothing really happened. And the Russians always used to say, hey, don't wake those guys up. And then NAFTA and GATT came along, and all of a sudden, 20 years it took? Not even? Well, a little over 20 years for them to become a world reserve currency. They went from nothing to a world reserve currency to now a currency that is going to be, become a dominant player in the world. And you start thinking about what does that really mean for the United States, and what does that mean for the dollar? And we've seen the dollar under pressure, and now rates are starting to rise. And matter of fact, the 10-year note got up to 2.66. It's down today to 2.64. But just things that you have to keep an eye on. And this happened quick. They went from zippo, nada, nothing in 20 years to reserve currency. What do you think is going to happen in the next 20? I think about when this first started, NAFTA and GATT, our debt wasn't even $5 trillion. It's now over 20, right? Getting ready to hit $21 trillion. On its way to $40 trillion. And you kind of start thinking about why they're making these steps, and you're like, man, that makes a lot of sense. If I was them, that's what I would be doing. Would I be adding dollars? No. Would I be developing a system that, hey, you know what? Let's find something else to use. Right? Let's find something else for the world to buy their goods from and to buy their services from. And this is what you all need to do. All of us. We all just need to prepare. Listen, it is what it is. Whether it's a good thing, a bad thing, a what it is thing, it is what it is. Right? And you either get ready for it or you don't. Right? You either buy a $100,000 El Camino or you come and you call Patriot and you put some gold away. And then you see which one's going to be worth more 20 years from now. Silver quarters, $123.50, 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll talk again tomorrow.